What if I told you that your brain, your very own mind, is secretly tricking you every single day? That behind your conscious thoughts lies a darker side of human psychology that controls your decisions, your relationships, and even your happiness, without you even realizing it. These are truths that most people don't want to face, but once you know them, you'll never see yourself or anyone else the same way again. 1. Your brain rewards you for lying. Believe it or not, lying actually feels good to the brain, at least at first. Studies show that when people tell small lies, the brain releases dopamine, the feel-good chemical, because it perceives lying as a survival tool. Over time, the more someone lies, the easier it becomes, until dishonesty feels almost natural. That's why tiny white lies can spiral into big ones. Our brains adapt and stop feeling guilt. The dark truth? We're all wired to manipulate when it benefits us. 2. People judge you in less than 7 seconds. You might think people get to know the real you over time, but psychology says otherwise. Research shows that within the first 7 seconds of meeting someone, their brain has already formed a permanent judgment about your character. Things like your facial expressions, tone of voice, and posture matter more than your actual words. The dark side? Once that snap judgment is made, it's almost impossible to change it, no matter how different you really are. 3. The more choices you have, the more miserable you become. You'd think having endless options would make you happier. But in reality, psychologists call this the paradox of choice. The more choices your brain has to process, the more overwhelmed and dissatisfied you feel, because you're always worried you picked the wrong one. That's why people in wealthier societies, with more freedom and abundance, often feel more anxious and depressed. Our brains weren't designed for unlimited options. They were designed for survival. 4. Your brain is addicted to negativity. Ever wonder why bad news spreads faster than good news? Or why you remember insults more vividly than compliments? That's because of negativity bias. The brain is hardwired to pay more attention to threats and failures than to positive experiences. It's a survival mechanism from our ancestors. Those who paid attention to danger lived longer. But in today's world, this bias makes people anxious, pessimistic, and addicted to doom scrolling on social media. 5. Most of your decisions aren't really yours. Think about the last time you bought something online. Did you really choose it? Or was it the result of clever marketing, subtle color choices, or the way the Buy Now button was placed right in front of your eyes? Modern psychology shows us that most decisions aren't purely rational. They're influenced by hidden cues in our environment. Supermarkets, for example, place expensive products at eye level, while essentials like milk and bread are usually placed in the farthest corner, forcing you to walk past dozens of tempting items you didn't plan to buy. That's not an accident. It's a psychological trick designed to guide your behavior. Even your daily routines are often more programmed than you'd like to believe. From the moment you wake up and grab your phone to scroll through notifications, algorithms are already nudging you. Social media platforms track your behavior so precisely that they can predict what kind of content will keep you scrolling longer. And then they feed it to you. By the time you realize an hour has passed, it feels like you chose to keep scrolling, but in reality, the system made the choice for you. And it doesn't stop at consumer habits or social media. Psychological studies reveal that even big life decisions, like careers, partners, or investments, are shaped by unconscious biases and social pressures. People tend to choose jobs that align with the prestige their culture values, not always what they deeply want. Many even pick partners who resemble their parents in subtle ways, without realizing it. The unsettling truth is that free will, while real to some degree, is constantly being hacked by outside influences. Your brain is wired to take shortcuts, called heuristics, and those shortcuts leave you vulnerable to suggestion. The next time you feel absolutely certain you made a rational choice, pause and ask yourself, was it really me, or was it the invisible hands of psychology pulling the strings? Here's a disturbing fact. Up to 95% of your daily decisions are made subconsciously. Everything from what you eat to who you like is shaped by hidden biases, past experiences, and environmental cues, long before you consciously decide. In other words, free will might not be as free as you think. The brain is constantly nudging you toward predictable patterns, even when you feel like you're in control. 6. You remember events that never happened. Memory feels like a personal time machine, something we can trust to carry us back to moments in our past. But here's the unsettling truth. Your brain often invents details, and sometimes it even fabricates entire events that never happened. Psychologists call this the false memory effect, and it reveals just how unreliable our mental archives really are. Think about a childhood story your family loves to tell. Over time, you may start remembering yourself being there, even if you weren't. Or perhaps you recall an argument, certain of who said what, only to discover later that the roles were reversed. This isn't you lying. It's your brain stitching together fragments of experience, imagination, and suggestion into a seamless narrative that feels real. One famous example of this phenomenon is known as the Mandela effect, where large groups of people collectively misremember the same details. Was it Berenstain Bears or Berenstein Bears? Did the Monopoly man wear a monocle? Many swear he did, but the truth says otherwise. What's even stranger is how confident people are in these memories. The brain doesn't file experiences like a computer. It rewrites them every time we recall them, making each memory a kind of edited copy. False memories can be created by leading questions, media, or even just imagination. For instance, if someone asks, "Do you remember when you got lost in the mall as a child?" Your brain might start filling in sensory details, like the smell of popcorn or the sound of a crowded hallway, until the invented scene feels like lived reality. The dark side of this truth is that it makes us question how much of our past is authentic. If memory is so fragile, how much of who we are is built on illusions? It's a sobering thought. Sometimes, the stories we tell ourselves are just that, stories. The human brain is a terrible historian. False memories are shockingly common, and research shows that your brain can easily invent details, or even entire events, that never actually happened. That means some of your most vivid childhood memories might be completely fake. Worse, once your brain convinces you something is true, you'll defend it as reality, even in the face of evidence. Memory, it turns out, is more imagination than fact. 7. Humans are wired to follow the crowd. Have you ever noticed how people behave differently when they're in a group compared to when they're alone? This isn't just coincidence. It's deep-rooted psychology at work. Humans are social creatures, and from an evolutionary standpoint, our survival often depended on being part of the tribe. If your group ran from danger, you ran too, because hesitation could mean death. This primal instinct still lives in us today, shaping the way we think, act, and even make decisions. One of the most famous studies that revealed this phenomenon is Solomon Asch's conformity experiment in the 1950s. In this study, participants were asked to judge the length of lines on a card. The correct answer was obvious. But when several actors deliberately gave the wrong answer before the participants' turn, many people went along with the crowd, even though they clearly saw the truth. This simple but powerful test proved how easily the human mind can bend under social pressure. You see this everywhere in modern life. When you're in a meeting and everyone nods at an idea you secretly disagree with, chances are you'll stay quiet. When you see a long line outside a restaurant, you assume the food must be good, even if you've never tasted it. And on social media, trends spread like wildfire, not necessarily because they're meaningful, but but because people don't want to feel left out. The scary part is that following the crowd often overrides critical thinking. Instead of asking, "Is this right for me?" we subconsciously ask, "What are others doing?" And once we start, it snowballs. The more people conform, the harder it becomes to resist. This explains why mass movements, propaganda, and even dangerous cults can gain momentum so quickly. People crave belonging, and in that craving, they surrender their independence of thought. The next time you feel the pull to follow what everyone else is doing, pause and ask yourself, is this my choice or the crowd's? Most people like to believe they're independent thinkers, but psychology proves otherwise. The famous Asch conformity experiments revealed that people will knowingly give the wrong answer, just to fit in with a group. The dark side? Social pressure is so powerful that it can override logic, morality, and even survival instincts. This explains why crowds can be manipulated so easily by propaganda, trends, or charismatic leaders. 8. Your brain doesn't actually want happiness. This one is hard to swallow. Your brain isn't designed for happiness. Its primary goal is survival, not joy. That's why, even after achieving something you've always wanted, the happiness fades quickly. Psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill. No matter how much you get, your brain quickly resets and craves more. It's why humans are never fully satisfied and always chasing the next thing. 9. People hide their darkest thoughts constantly. You might think you know yourself, but psychology suggests otherwise. Studies show that almost everyone experiences intrusive thoughts, disturbing, violent, or immoral ideas that randomly pop into the mind. Most people never act on them, but the fact that they exist proves the brain has a shadow side. What's even darker is that people hide these thoughts because they're afraid of being judged, even though they're universal. 10. People repeat painful patterns without realizing it. Here's the darkest fact of all. The brain is programmed to repeat familiar patterns, even when those patterns cause pain. This is why people stay in toxic relationships, sabotage their own success, or repeat the same mistakes over and over again. The brain confuses familiarity with safety, so it traps people in cycles of suffering. Breaking free requires awareness, and most people never achieve it. Conclusion: the human mind is both fascinating and terrifying. We like to think of ourselves as rational, logical beings, but in reality, our brains are full of hidden flaws, biases, and shadows that quietly shape our lives. Once you understand these dark psychological facts, you start to see the truth. Success, happiness, and freedom come not from ignoring these truths, but from learning how to outsmart them.